What's going on, everyone? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to have a look at multiplying algebraic expressions together, and we're going to use our area representation in order to visualize what this actually means. This just might help you understand why there are specific rules with multiplication, again going back to our area model. In our last lesson we saw that a shape can represent a variable. So for example, here I've got one rectangle that I'm going to call A. And we use this idea to see how we could add or subtract like terms together. So say if I've got one rectangle A and another rectangle A, I could see pretty easily that I've got two A's. So my answer for this is 2A. Another way that I could look at this is if the side length is equal to A and that top bit is equal to 1. If I put these two next to each other, I've got A and then 2 up the top. To find the area of this whole rectangle now, I just need to multiply these two terms together, which would be A multiplied by 2, which is also equal to 2A. This time what we're going to look at is exactly the same scenario, except instead of another A rocking up next to it, we're going to just flip it on its side. So here's an example of what it's going to look like. I've got that first A, another one comes along, but instead of sitting right next to it, it gets flipped. So now I've got the outlines of a square happening. From this position, we're trying to find out the entire area that these two shapes make when I kind of extend it out to make a whole square. So from here, I've got A as a side length and A as another side length. If I wanted to find out the area of this entire shape, it would be A times A, which is equal to A squared. We can see that this is definitely different to the 2A that we had in the last question. In the 2A, there was a completely different shape, whereas this A squared takes up more space for this representation. So all we're really trying to do with this example is see that A plus A is completely different to A times A because of the amount of area that these shapes take up. This representation also works when we're dealing with not like terms. So for here, if I had A and B, if I added these two together, I would say I've got the area of A plus the area of B. So the answer would just be A plus B. But if I was multiplying these two things together, I would cross them over and then find the area of the square that's being made. So if I move this B over to here, I've got the side length A and the side length B. I'm trying to find the area of that whole rectangle, and I just need to multiply these two terms together, A times B. And just as an algebraic convention, instead of writing A times B, we just write AB. Two things exactly next to each other means multiply. And this also works if we've got multiple of the variable on one side. So for example, if this was 2A multiplied by C, instead of just doing the first shape, that A multiplied by C, that would only take up half the space. But I'm trying to find the area of the entire shape that's made. So here I would have 2A multiplied by the top C. So this whole thing would be equal to 2AC, not just AC. So what we do need to know is that the pronumeral out the front is multiplied with the pronumeral of the other one. So this is 2A multiplied by 1C. So the 2 and the 1 are multiplied together to give 2. And then the letters are just multiplied as well. 2A multiplied by C is equal to 2AC. And that's the total area of this rectangle. So if we have a look at another example using our pronumerals, we could have the shape X here, and instead of having one of them, I've got 3 of them. And then I'm going to multiply this with the shape Y. But not just one Y, I'm going to have 2 Y's next to each other. So instead of writing out X plus X plus X and Y, I've got 3X on one side and 2Y on the other side. And I've got to work out the area of the rectangle that's made between these two shapes. So instead of just multiplying these straight away individually, I'm going to look at each shape's area and then add them all together. So if I had a look at that very first rectangle that's made, I've got X and Y multiplied together. So that section there is XY. The next one is also equal to XY. And the next one after that would also be equal to XY. So if I keep doing this, I could see that I've got XY 6 times or 6XY. The shortcut to finding this out is I just multiply the two numbers together. 3 times by 2 is equal to 6. And then I just put the letters in afterwards. I've got X on one side, Y on the other. So this answer is 6XY. So we don't want to be drawing out shapes every single time we do a multiplication question with algebra. The big shortcut is that we just have to multiply the numbers first and then put the letters together that are in the question. Just remembering that A times A is equal to A squared and A times B is just AB. So all we need to do is jam these letters together and multiply the numbers like normal. So if I had a question like this, 5x multiplied by 6xy, all I have to do is multiply the 5 and the 6 together to start, which is equal to 30. Then I know I've got x times y. X times x is equal to x squared, and then I've got a y as well. Remember, we're not writing the multiplication sign in every single time. All we've got left is 30 x squared y, and you're done. So this lesson is not too difficult. The only real skill that we need to know is how to multiply numbers normally, just using our times tables. Please take the time to multiply these numbers correctly first, and then just add the letters in at the very end. Really, all you've got to be able to do is count how many x's you've got, and you're going to get these questions right. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, and I'll see you later.